Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This video I want to talk about fat loss and whether cutting out food groups leads to better fat loss or not. And in short, the answer to the question is no, it does not. And there's a few reasons for this that I'm going to go into in a minute. So I'm sure you've had a friend, or maybe this person is you, that has had some success with weight loss by cutting out sugar or cutting out carbs or cutting out dairy. And what happens when you cut out these foods is a few things. These foods are often highly palatable, so they're often really tasty and they're easy to eat and easy to overeat. And so when you cut them out, it's obviously like you're going to be eating something else instead. Usually it's something nutrient dense, so like vegetables or things that aren't so easy to overeat. So by cutting out these food groups, you're creating a calorie deficit. You probably don't even realize it, but that is what's causing the fat loss, not cutting out the actual food group. So sugar or not eating sugar doesn't cause fat loss. It's creating a calorie deficit that causes the fat loss. And the other thing with these foods is they're often high in calories. So if you're cutting out sugary foods like cake and chocolate, which taste really good and are easy to overeat and are also high in calories, then, and like eating vegetables or something instead, then of course you're going to be losing weight because you're replacing something that's calorie dense with something that's got way less calories in it, and you're just creating a calorie deficit. So that's how that works. But the other side of the equation is, or not equation, but the issue with cutting out whole food groups is that you really have to have a strong willpower to keep that up, because you know we all want what we can't have. So if you cut out a food group, you're going to have cravings for it, and these cravings are going to be made worse because if you're eating in a calorie deficit, you're going to be hungry. It's just part of it. It's normal. So it's like your body is crying out for more food because it thinks it's not getting enough, and it's like, what are you doing to me? So you'll get hungry, and then because you're focusing on the fact that you can't have these foods, you're going to want them even more. So you're going to get cravings, and on those days where your willpower is not very good because you're just having a shit day, you're probably going to end up binging on those foods that you shouldn't have and then feel shit about it. And it's just going to be that negative cycle that one step feeds the next and feeds the next and goes in a loop, basically. So yeah, I don't like cutting out food groups because it causes cravings and then binge eating, and it's just not necessary. You can create a calorie deficit in a much safer way, where you don't have to rely on willpower, because you can still eat the foods that you like to eat and have success losing weight and enjoy life at the same time. The other reason I don't like cutting out whole food groups is because you don't actually know how big the deficit is. You don't know where to go once you plateau. So if you cut out a food group, it's automatically creating a deficit. Once your body gets used to that deficit, if you're not at your goal weight, you're going to be stuck, and you're going to be like, okay, what do I do now? So you don't leave yourself anywhere to move. If you cut out sugar, you've cut out sugar. What do you do next? Cut out like dairy as well. And then it's just this like, what are you left to eat, and your life is just going to get harder and harder and more miserable and miserable, and it's going to be harder to stick to things, and at the end of the day, consistency wins. So if you can't stick to something, then you're not going to get to your end result that you want very easily or at all. And then I completely lost my train of thought just then. So if you can't stick to it, and at least you know where to go. And then if you do get to your goal weight, you've got to think about what are you going to do once you reach your goal body or goal weight. Are you going to add that food back in? Because if you add that food back in and don't remove something else, then you're going to be coming out of a deficit. And if your body if you're in a deficit for a really long time, your body's going to adapt to that. So once you add that food back in, you're going to be like, okay, now I'm going to just gain weight again, because that's what's going to happen. Unless you do it in a controlled manner where you kind of reverse diet out of the deficit, find your maintenance again, and that's how you kind of keep your fat loss and go back to eating a normal amount of food. So you have to be just really careful with listening to what's around you and choosing to restrict foods from your diet. Unless you're willing to do it for the rest of your life, you're not going to have long-term success by cutting out sugar or cutting out carbs or cutting out any food group, okay? You need to create a calorie deficit for fat loss, full stop. There's so many better ways to do it than cutting out a food group. Anyway, this video was a bit scattered maybe, but I hope you got something out of it, and I hope you have a really good weekend. I will see you in the next video.